All right. So, we've been talking about digging into some fresh ideas about how we think about patient care and retention.
Yeah.
And you sent over some really interesting material
That is true.
from Twisted Thoughts,
Hmm.
circling around this provocative idea of ARR being dead.
Yeah.
And that really grabbed my attention, I gotta say.
It's a good one, right?
So let's dive in
Yeah, let's do it.
to what that means for us as chiropractors.
Absolutely. So for anyone who might not be super familiar with that term,
Yeah.
annual recurring revenue or ARR, it's a huge metric in the software as a service world.
Right.
It really represents that nice, predictable stream of income that comes from those subscriptions that people have. And the material that you shared, which comes from someone who's actually a #1 growth coordinator in chiropractic,
Wow.
suggests that just like software companies are kind of looking beyond ARR as like the ultimate metric,
Right.
maybe we in chiropractic need to reevaluate some of our traditional ways of measuring patient connection and long-term value as well. It's a really interesting parallel.
Yeah. The core of it seems to be that if even in a seemingly stable tech industry, where recurring revenue feels like it should be a given,
Right, it's baked in.
if ARR is being questioned, maybe our long-held beliefs around things like PVA, patient visit average, and how successful prepaid care plans really are,
Yeah,
need like a total refresh.
definitely a fresh perspective.
Yeah. So our mission today is to dig into this.
All right.
We're going to explore what new ways of looking at things, what different metrics might actually give us a clearer understanding of how patients are engaging with their health journey when they choose chiropractic care.
I love it.
And this all comes from someone, as we said, like really embedded in the field, sharing their notes and ideas.
Yeah, this isn't just some theory. This is from the trenches.
Exactly.
So I think it's going to be really valuable.
Okay, so to set the stage a little bit.
Yeah.
The source material makes this direct comparison.
Uh-huh.
They say what ARR is to the software world. Prepaid care plans have traditionally been to chiropractic.
Yeah, they were seen as like the bedrock, right?
Totally.
Predictable income patients,
Yeah.
committing to their care. It felt like a win-win for everybody.
And it even lists these traditional chiropractic benchmarks
Oh, yeah.
that were considered the gold standard.
Let's hear them.
So things like PVA, of course, case acceptance percentage, revenue per visit, overall retention rates, and of course those prepaid care plans.
Like the bread and butter.
It really paints this picture of when these numbers felt so reliable.
Yeah, you could take it to the bank.
Right.
You knew it was coming.
But the world has changed.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah, and the source points to some key shifts
Okay.
that have led to what they're calling messy care plan revenue.
Messy.
It's just not the straightforward, predictable income stream it used to be.
I like that messy.
Yeah?
It really captures it.
So what are the big shifts driving this change?
All right, so the first one they highlight is insurance volatility.
Okay.
And they compare this to churn in the SaaS world,
Right.
which is, customers deciding not to renew their subscriptions.
Yeah.
In chiropractic, we see this with, changes in patient insurance coverage, shifts in their specific plans, or them, reaching their coverage limits.
Right.
All of this makes that consistent long-term care a lot more unpredictable.
So you can't always bank on that consistent coverage
Exactly.
to keep someone in a longer plan.
You can't.
Oh.
Another big factor is what they call health consumer skepticism.
Okay. Interesting.
And they actually compare this to the hesitation some buyers might have towards like unproven AI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. They say patients are a lot more informed these days.
Right.
They've got more healthcare options available to them.
Sure.
And they're just less inclined to commit to these long care plans without seeing clear benefits.
Right. Show me, don't tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I can see how that's different from the excitement around like the latest AI software.
Yeah,
The personal health stakes feel much higher.
for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so they also mention the rise of flexible care plans
Yeah.
as contributing to this messiness.
Right.
So how does that work?
Well, offering more flexible options definitely caters to what patients want
Right.
and what their budgets allow. But it also naturally moves away from that predictable revenue of those bigger prepaid packages.
Right. So instead of someone investing in 30 visits up front,
Exactly.
they might choose a smaller package or just pay as they go.
Right. More like usage-based pricing.
Which makes predicting future revenue harder.
Way less certain.
Okay, and then on top of all of that, they talk about high expectations and low attention spans,
Yeah.
people wanting fast results, and having so many things competing for their focus.
It's a busy world out there.
And then the trend of patients trying before they buy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really painting a picture of why those traditional benchmarks might not be as reliable as they once were.
Yeah, the old ways of thinking about retention might need an update.
Exactly. Okay, so this leads us to the idea of redefining how we measure success.
Right? Like it.
And the source has this great table
Oh, yeah.
that contrasts old school and new school thinking when it comes to these metrics.
Let's bring it down.
All right, so the first one it highlights is this contrast between focusing on PVA
Yeah, patient visit average.
and shifting to understanding lifetime value per patient type,
So instead of just a flat average,
right?
you're really starting to think about the total value.
Yeah.
That, say, a patient who comes in for a sports injury might bring over time versus someone who's more focused on wellness care.
Right, like completely different patterns of engagement.
And their overall value might be different too,
Exactly.
long term.
Okay, the next shift is from counting the number of visits to focusing on health journey milestones hit.
So it's not just how many times they come in,
Right.
but are they actually achieving those goals?
That's huge.
Are they seeing progress?
A patient who comes in for fewer visits but achieves significant pain relief might be a bigger success story than someone who completes a long care plan but doesn't feel any different.
I totally agree.
Okay, and then we see this shift from ROF close rate.
Just to clarify,
Yes.
ROF stands for Report of Findings.
Thank you. To
You're welcome.
trust built plus outcomes achieved.
It's not just about getting them to sign on the dotted line
Right.
at that first visit.
It's about the relationship.
It's about building that connection and getting real results that lead to long-term adherence.
And referrals.
And referrals, that's key.
Okay, what else do we have on the list?
The next contrast is between looking at overall care plan value
Uh-huh.
and understanding segmented service profitability.
Okay, so break that down for me.
So instead of just looking at the total dollar amount of all the care plans you sell,
Right.
you really need to dig down and see how profitable different types of services are for different patient groups.
For example.
Yeah, like a cash-paying wellness patient might have completely different profitability profile than someone using insurance for pain management.
Right. Totally different situations.
Exactly. And then the final shift, and this is a big one,
Okay, hit me.
is moving away from the idea that all patients are equal
Okay.
and starting to recognize the difference between core and casual patients.
Huge shift in thinking.
It really is. It's acknowledging that not every patient will have that same level of commitment
Right.
to ongoing care.
Okay, so this leads us to patient segmentation.
Yeah.
Which the source really stresses is so important.
Absolutely crucial.
They propose this model of thinking about our patient base in 3 groups.
3 groups. Let's hear them.
The core tribe,
Okay.
the conditional patients,
All right.
and the experimental patients.
Love it.
Okay, so the core tribe,
Half your VIPs.
right, these are the loyal patients, the ones consistently referring others,
They get it.
the ones who adhere to their care plans and really understand and value chiropractic.
This is your true ARR.
Yeah, they're the retention flywheel, as they call it.
That's a great analogy.
Okay, then we have the conditional patients.
All right, so these folks might initially commit to a block of visits, maybe even prepay,
Right.
but then they drop off
Oh, they don't finish.
before completing their plan, or they need lots of reminders
Right.
to stay on track.
So their revenue is what they call messy ARR.
It's less predictable.
Right.
Requires more effort to keep them engaged.
So they show some commitment, but they're not as intrinsically motivated as that core tribe.
Yeah, core tribe, they're in it.
Right, exactly. And finally, we have the experimental patients.
Okay, so these are the folks who try chiropractic once, maybe for an acute issue.
Like they hurt their back.
Exactly, and then poof, they vanish.
They're gone.
Maybe they come back in the future if something else happens.
Right.
But their engagement is super sporadic
And unpredictable.
and unpredictable.
Hey, yo.
Exactly. The source calls this ERR,
ERR. What is that?
experimental recurring revenue.
I love it.
It acknowledges the potential for them to come back,
Right.
but you can't really bank on it.
It's not part of the core strategy.
Nope.
Okay, so it's so clear.
Yeah.
When you look at these 3 groups,
Uh-huh.
they behave in such different ways.
Totally different.
In terms of how long they stay with you, how much they spend,
For sure.
and whether they'll refer people.
Huge variations.
And the source really highlights the danger of blending all your revenue together.
You can't treat them all the same.
When these differences are so big.
Right. You're going to get a skewed picture.
Exactly. Okay, so this brings us to what they're calling the Chiro CAC payback metric.
Okay. This is a good one.
Tell me about it.
So CAC stands for customer acquisition cost.
Right.
And this metric is all about figuring out how long it takes for the revenue from a new patient to actually cover the cost of getting them in the door.
So you're really looking at their actual behavior.
Not just the potential of a care plan.
Right.
And
And they give this really clear example.
oh, yeah. I like this one.
So let's say you spend $150 on Google Ads
Okay.
to bring in a new patient. That patient comes in for 2 visits, each visit bringing in $75.
So you've broken even
You're right back where you started.
at 0.
But then that same patient who just barely covered their cost refers their friend.
Oh, now we're talking.
Suddenly that $150 investment looks way better.
Huge return on investment.
That referral acts as a multiplier,
Exactly.
increasing the return on that marketing spend.
Exactly.
So looking at CAC payback plus that referral multiplier gives you a much better picture.
Way more insightful
And
than
just PVA.
I agree.
You have to consider the true cost of bringing someone in and the potential they have to bring in more business.
It's not just about those initial visits.
Exactly. Okay, so to wrap things up,
Mhm.
the source calls these the final twisty tornadoes.
Okay, the key takeaways.
Yes, the things they really want us to remember.
The big lessons.
So the first one is that no matter how much we want it,
Yeah.
not all care will be truly recurring.
It's hard truth.
Yeah. We need to accept that each patient's journey is unique.
Not everyone fits in that perfect little box.
Okay, the second tornado is a warning against faking retention
Yes.
by trying to pressure patients into long-term plans.
If it's not right for them.
If it doesn't make sense,
Exactly. It can actually backfire
lead to unhappy patients.
and hurt your reputation.
Yeah, it's about providing care that aligns with their needs.
Ethical and effective.
Okay. The third takeaway emphasizes the importance of professional patient segmentation.
Yes. Understanding those different groups we talked about.
They're making sure the care plans you're recommending actually align with their behavior.
Not just the clinic's financial goals.
Right. So important.
So crucial.
And the final point is about building that core tribe.
Yes. The heart of your practice.
Those loyal patients who understand and embrace chiropractic.
They're your advocates.
And they become your best source of new referrals.
Word of mouth is gold.
So to sum it all up,
Yeah.
this deep dive has shown us it's time to move beyond simple averages and upfront commitments.
We need a deeper understanding.
Yeah, a more nuanced understanding of what different patients are worth.
And how they actually behave.
And how they act.
Exactly.
It's about acknowledging that the healthcare landscape has evolved.
It has.
And our way of measuring success needs to evolve too.
Absolutely.
So as you're listening to this, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to consider
Yeah.
how might you reevaluate your approach
To patient
to
engagement.
patient engagement?
Yeah.
What might you look at differently based on these ideas?
It's all about adapting.
So much good food for thought
For sure.
as we all try to figure this out.
Absolutely. And remember this shift in thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the key to achieving sustainable growth.
And providing truly impactful care.
In the long run, that's what it's all about. Right?
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was an awesome deep dive.
It was fun.
Lots to think about.
Definitely.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See you later.
Bye.